So next category of bacteria we will see is pathogenic gram-positive bacilli. These are rod-shaped bacteria which are pathogenic to human beings. The first bacterium we will look into is Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani is well known to cause tetanus infection in human beings. This is a spore-forming gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria which generally survives in soil or dust and also in the ledges of windows and floors. It also survives on corrosive material like iron rods or iron nails, etc. So, when a person comes into contact with this spore forming bacteria through wounds or cuts by means of the contaminated material or by transmission of these spores through water or food also causes tetanus infections in human beings. The major route of transmission of this bacterium is through contaminated food, that is through oral cavity, and also through the cuts and the wounds infected with the contaminated material. The next pathogenic bacterium we will look into is Clostridium botulinum, which causes botulism, which is a type of food infection or wound infection or infection in the infants, which is caused by various means, like it is transmitted through food, contaminated food, or by inhaling the spores of Clostridium botulinum bacteria directly. It also transmitted by infection of wounds or fresh cuts on the human body by the spores of this bacterium. It is not transmitted directly from one person to another person, but the spores are the major reason for causing botulism infection in human beings. The food which is contaminated by these spores is the major reason for causing this particular infection in human beings. The next bacteria is Bacillus anthracis. Bacillus anthracis causes an infection called as anthrax, which is transmitted through the spores of this particular bacterium. This particular bacteria is found in the soil and also in association with few animals like sheep or other cattle. So, they are transmitted by direct contact with the spores of this bacteria, and also when a person comes in direct contact with these animals, this infection causes. Bacillus anthracis travels by means of nasal cavity and also through respiratory tract for causing anthrax, which is a severe infection in human beings. The next gram positive rod shaped bacteria is Corynebacterium diphtheria, which is known to cause a well known infection in human beings, that is diphtheria. So, these bacteria are transmitted from diseased person to the healthy person and they cause upper respiratory tract infections. They are transmitted in a person from nasal cavity to pharynx into the lungs. These bacteria are known to cause pharyngitis and also myocarditis along with arrhythmias in some of the patients. These bacteria are known to transmit from the diseased person to the healthy person through direct contact. This is the way by which the bacteria transmits. The next gram positive rod shaped bacteria is Listeria monocytogenes, which is known to cause listeriosis, intestinal tract infection in human beings. These bacteria are transmitted from diseased person to the healthy host. These bacteria are generally found as commensals in some of the human beings in the intestinal tract. They are transmitted by unprocessed food, contaminated food, raw vegetables or unpasteurized milk products, etc. Apart from causing listeriosis, these bacteria are known to cause infections on wounds and cuts. They are known to cause gastroenteritis, and in infants, newborns, it is known to cause neonatal meningitis. These bacteria are highly infectious. The next category of pathogenic bacteria, which are gram negative rod shaped bacteria. The first bacteria which falls under this category is Escherichia coli. We all know that Escherichia coli is found in water, soil, and also is found as a symbiotic bacteria in human beings. These bacteria are known to cause different opportunistic and serious infections in human beings. These bacteria are transmitted through contaminated food material, especially when food and water are contaminated with the feces of the infected person, and also are known to cause different gastrointestinal tract infections like gastroenteritis, traveler's diarrhea, and also is known to cause bowel inflammatory syndrome or disease, which is inflammation in the large intestine. This bacteria are also known to cause urinary tract infections and opportunistic infections in immunocompromised patients. They are known to travel by means of oral route and also through gastrointestinal tract. Especially E. coli are transmitted through poor hygiene and also maintaining poor hygienic conditions around the living areas. The next bacteria is Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which is a gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria, which is generally present in water, soil and other vegetation. These bacteria are known to travel through the nasal cavity of a person. These bacteria are known to cause upper respiratory tract infections. They are also known to cause few of the gastrointestinal tract infection. They stay in the upper respiratory tract and also in the gastrointestinal tract in human beings. Pseudomonas aeruginosa is known to cause severe opportunistic infections in human beings. They are transmitted through the droplets. They are also transmitted by the direct contact with the diseased person. It is this bacteria is known to cause pneumonia and upper respiratory tract infection, and also known to cause some of the urinary tract infection and gastrointestinal tract infections in immunocompromised patients. The next bacteria we will look into is Shigella species. These bacteria are gram-negative bacteria, which are rod-shaped bacteria. They are known to be present on different vegetables and food items. They travel through the oral cavity and the route of transmission is through oral or anal cavity. These bacteria are known to cause an infection called as shigellosis in human beings, which affects the gastrointestinal tract and causes severe diarrhea in patients. This bacteria is known to be transmitted through contaminated food items and also by contaminated water. By maintaining poor hygiene, transmissibility of this bacteria is very high and it is highly infectious in poor hygienic conditions. Shigella is also known to be transmitted from diseased person to healthy person by direct contact or also by using food or water taken by the diseased person. So, these are the major reasons for causing shigellosis in human beings. The next bacteria we will see is Klebsiella pneumonia. These bacteria are known to cause upper respiratory tract infection, especially pneumonia. It is also known to cause other upper respiratory tract infections in human beings. Klebsiella pneumonia is transmitted directly from one person to another person, diseased person to healthy person, through the droplets, that is through sneezing or coughing or through saliva. This bacteria is transmitted from one person to another person. The routes of entry of this bacteria into human beings is through nasal and oral cavities. These bacteria are known to cause opportunistic infections in immunocompromised patients. Along with Klebsiella, Enterobacter and Serratia are other two species of bacteria which are transmitted in the same manner. These bacteria are transmitted through contaminated food and water. These bacteria are also known to contaminate the medical devices like catheters and IV tubes, which when used with the healthy person may cause infections in upper respiratory tract and also in gastrointestinal tract. These bacteria, those are Enterobacter, Serratia and Klebsiella, are known to cause opportunistic infections in kidney patients and also in patients with respiratory diseases. These are transmitted through the oral and nasal cavities. So, these are the bacteria which are highly infectious to the human beings. The last bacteria we will look into is Salmonella typhi and Salmonella paratyphi. These two bacterial species are gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria which are generally transmitted from a diseased person to healthy person by means of when the water is contaminated with the diseased person feces or food is contaminated through the diseased person feces, this bacteria get transmitted from person to person and causes typhoid fever and paratyphoid fever, which are generally enteric fevers. These bacteria enter through the oral cavity, through the mouth, and then infect the gastrointestinal tract in the human beings. The food which is contaminated with the Salmonella species and the water which is contaminated with the Salmonella species generally causes typhoid and paratyphoid fevers, which are enteric fevers in the human beings.